Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. Really excited for my next guest. His name is Michael Zuber. He's a seasoned real estate investor, author, and educator, best known for his book, One Rental at a Time. And he also has a daily show focused on real estate economics and small investor strategies. He's got over 22 years of experience. He's built a portfolio over 180 properties, and he teaches that financial independence that all people can achieve. One rental at a time through consistent effort, long-term thinking, and conservative financing. Michael, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that was a wonderful introduction. You've clearly done your research. So I appreciate that, Benson.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so cool to have you back. We've done some content creation before in the past, and I always enjoyed talking with you. And I really love your strategy of one rental at a time. But way before that, you started out in the corporate world, like many of us do. But you used your income as a stability anchor to fund your real estate acquisitions over time. For the listener who has that W-2 income right now, how do they best leverage the stability of that paycheck to start investing in real estate?
Well, first, I think it starts with the mindset. And I think there's a lot of social media, mainly from entrepreneurs like Ryan Pineda, Gary Vee, Cody Sanchez, Alex Hormozi, where they kind of glorify being an entrepreneur. And, you know, according to Ed Milet, only 9% of us humans are wired to be entrepreneurs. So I think there's a disproportionate amount of messaging that kind of glorifies or makes sexy being an entrepreneur. And that's not who I was. I'm still not an entrepreneur. I'm an employee. And what I want people to realize is your job can be your key to your financial freedom. Too many people, because of social media, look at a job as a prison, and they're negative and they hate Mondays and, you know, all of these things. However, if you change your mindset and look at your job as the key to your financial future, you go to work at least in a better mood. You may not be happy, but you'll be in a better mood because your mindset's right. So what does that key mean? Well, first off, if you don't know, you get the best rates as a W-2 employee, right? 1099s, AKA entrepreneurs, bad rates. Getting a loan, much easier as an employee. Typically get, you know, benefits and 401k and company match and, you know, all of these things. Again, I just wish people would stop poo-pooing the W-2. And the last thing I will say about a W-2, and I've only said this, I think, one other time, and that is, if your job, right, if your income, wherever you live, is 2x the area median, I think you should be retired or financially free in a decade. So if you live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm going to make up these numbers, and the median income is 75 grand, and you have a good job and you make 150, I want you to know that I expect you to be financially free in a decade. Now, that should be jarring. That should be shocking, because that's not how Americans live. As we expand our means, we expand our expenses. The only reason Olivia and I were able to retire early is because we went from spending 100% of our income to spending 50% of our income, right? We did a want versus need analysis. It took us 18 months to get there, but that's how we had disposable income, discretionary income, capital to buy real estate, is we lived remarkably below our means. And we did that for 12 years. It's worth it. It's possible. You can do it. You don't have to spend every penny. And the last thing I'll say is the wealth formula is really simple. Create discretionary income, become an elite investor at something, and do it for a decade. I've talked to, you know, dozens and hundreds of people that's just the formula, whether you like it or not. Don't fight it, understand it, and do the work. Yeah.
So when you say it took you 18 months, is that the 18 months from when you started to cut down? You didn't start off at 50% immediately. You started to shave some things off that you realized that were just draining the bank account, like eating out, the gifts, maybe the gifts on, maybe you buy one thing at Christmas and you don't buy that diamond ring for Valentine's Day and stuff like that.
No, it's really funny when you really sit down and you look where your money goes. And folks, if you haven't done this, shame on you, but congratulations. It's the end of the year. Do it now. Get with your significant other or yourself if you're solo and look at where your money went the last 90 days. And then do a simple need versus want. Did I need this or did I want this? And when you really get super, detailed, you're going to realize that you're spending a hell of a lot of money on wants. And, there's lots of studies out there about, hey, if, for every dollar in your 20s that you invest, it becomes $70 when you're 65. If you think about that in real estate context, it could be $750 because, again, you have leverage, right? You're buying with 20% down, you get 5x leverage, you get tax benefits, cash flow goes up. It's just like you guys just don't understand the importance of a dollar. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we went on a pretty meticulous and grinding cut down of expenses. And yeah, it wasn't fun. People made fun of us, right? We didn't trade our cars in. We didn't upgrade our house. We didn't remodel our house. We didn't buy fancy clothes. I mean, we literally had people make fun of us in our friend circle because, we lived in the Silicon Valley and people like to throw money around. And we're like, nope, we got bigger plans. So yeah, it wasn't fun, but it was important.
Right. And that slow grind, right, where it's not fun and it's not enjoyable, is tough, right? But it's funny too, because you said the needs and wants, you could apply it to the goal setting. Like, let's say that people want to be wealthy. Do you need to be wealthy or do you just want to be wealthy? And the people that just want to be wealthy won't put in the work. If you set a goal and that's your need and that's going to happen no matter what, you're burning the boats at the beach, then you need to be rich and you will do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah. What I really found, and I'm glad you brought this up, is if you don't have a burning desire, that why, that is truly stoked, your motivation is going to disappear, right? I see a lot of information now, the difference between motivation and discipline, right? Motivation fades, discipline doesn't. I've not only had a track record of getting wealthy, but this year I'm on a health journey. I've gone from 35% body fat down to sub 12. Wow. Why? Because I'm walking, I'm walking more, I'm working out, I'm eating clean, I'm tracking protein intake. It's daily decisions. And, there was a time this year where I thought about what's easier, getting wealthy or getting healthy. And the answer is they're actually both the same. It takes daily focus and daily decisions. And why, right? Because you got to lean in. There are hard days. There are pizza parties and birthday cakes and, all this other stuff. And, if you're really on a health journey and you're trying to get healthy, you just don't do those things, right? You got to have that why that holds. So, yeah.
So you're at your corporate job. Was there something about that just really turned you off? Why not just stay
I love
at your corporate job and earn well and save some money and live your life? And why put yourself through all of that discomfort if you didn't need to?
Yeah. So my story starts in 2000, where I turned $7,000 into almost $200,000 in the stock market. And at that moment, I felt like I was smarter than Warren Buffett. I actually told somebody I'm smarter than Warren Buffett. How wrong was I? Folks, if you ever say you're smarter than Warren Buffett, you're not. Just stop it. You're crazy. But I said that out loud. And what very quickly happened after that is I lost 80% of that. And the reason that $200,000 was important is I grew up very financially insecure, right? We were always on the cusp of losing our home and foreclosure and moving to another state. And money was very traumatic in my youth. And I still carry that crap today. But why is it important at 30? I looked at my daughter and I didn't want her to go through what I went through. And, then real estate, I read that purple book that we all have read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it just opened up it's like I found a new world. And it's really shocking. At 30 years old, I have an MBA, right? So not only an undergrad in economics, but I have an MBA, master's in business, and I'm an accountant. And this freaking purple book opens a new world to me. It's still laughable for me to say, but that's just a judgment on our education system.
Oh yeah.
the fact that this little purple book opened up a complete new avenue when I have an MBA, for goodness sakes. It's shocking to me, but it's true. So, the burning why for me was I didn't want my family to go through what I did. And I was willing to fight any battle, slave any dragon. The last thing I'll say about my job is, back to the earlier comment, I loved my job. I wanted to do my job until I was 50. But, events happened at 45 that, made that happen early. But yeah, it is possible to love your job. It's possible to save money and buy assets. And that's what we did for, a long time.
It's interesting how you brought up the education system. I've thought about that a lot recently. And so many people just don't understand finances at a basic level. Just like financial literacy is something that's really not taught in schools, let alone completely entrepreneurship. Even like the MBA programs, when they talk about entrepreneurship, are a joke. Do you think this is by design? Do you think that there is somebody at these universities, somebody, who's controlling everything and says, listen, we can't have these people out there succeeding. We can't have them looking behind the curtain to see what's really going on back here. We need them to be controlled.
So I certainly think the education system was initially constructed to build employees, right? You go to school at a certain time, you do this at a certain time, you do this at a certain time, very much work on a manufacturing floor, right? When that was put to be. Do I think there's some super deep secret, man behind the curtain that's saying, I want to still create employees and not entrepreneurs? No. I just think the system's broken. I think the fact that we still teach stuff the same, the fact that my daughter was taking courses that I took 30 years ago just shows you how broken the system is. The system doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to evolve. The fact that they can do stuff now on their phone that, we had to do long form division. I mean, come on, really? We haven't evolved from that. The fact that it's still very much memorization versus creativity. Come on, guys, we're better than this. So I just think it's a tired system that's very full of people who have earned tenure and are basically fighting it to keep it living another decade or so. So I'm certainly not a fan, but I don't think there's some super deep, secret magician behind the scenes, doing that. I just think it's a mature system that it's fighting its relevancy. I think there's a good chance that there's less universities in a decade than there are today, and potentially 30% less. I think the college system is what we're going to watch implode with AI and the move to blue collar from white collar. I think the fact that the government got involved with student loans made college get more expensive. I think it's a travesty. The fact that you can't have college debt discharged in a bankruptcy is a travesty. And yeah, I bet we have 30% less universities in the decade.
Oh yeah, it could be more. And then like the shift to online universities, right? Being able to learn from your computer, on your own time. You can finish a 4-year degree in less than 2 years if you really put your mind to it. And that big shift started happening a decade ago, and that's affected universities. And what do? Well, they just have to increase the costs on everybody else because they're spending more than they should.
Yeah, and the only reason they can increase the cost is because it's government backed, right? Once the government got involved, pricing discovery went out the window.
Right. Well, that's the plan too, right? Everybody needs to go to school, get a degree, go get a good job. Like that's the plan to the white picket fence and the American dream, right?
Yeah, and I think we're seeing, certainly with millennials, the first generation that's really getting injured by that, right? I'm Gen X. And, when I went to school, I think I got out of my MBA program and undergrad with like 40 grand in debt. And I paid
Which isn't bad, actually.
No, it's not bad. Today, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's what we're seeing today is we have a whole generation of folks carrying 6-figure plus in student debt that can't participate in the American dream. They can't buy a home, right? They're not getting married because, again, its costs are crazy. And again, I put all the blame at the feet of the government for student loans. The fact that you're underwriting student loans for degrees and there's no chance they could pay them back, that's damn near criminal.
Oh, yeah. It really is. And with the shift in the workforce, like you mentioned, and you talked about the shift in, from people from white collar to blue collar jobs. I think that's going to be happening. But then now you have AI coming in. There's going to be fewer and fewer people going to universities.
Oh, I really do think there'll be 30% less universities in a decade for sure.
Wow. There's some big shifts coming here with all of these changes that are happening. But let's talk more about, what you're working on here. So you preach the one property at a time philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a slow grind, and it goes exact opposite of what you mentioned earlier, is all of these gurus who are talking about get rich quick schemes. How do you balance that with people who want all the wealth, they want the success and the stability, and they're listening to the gurus, and they come listen to you, and they're like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want to be rich tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny when you're out there, you're preaching, the turtle, right? The turtle and the hare story. It's not sexy, and it's funny. I really run into three different kind of people. There's the one type that just want to get rich quick, the easy button, and I don't reach those people, which is okay because they're not really made for me. On the opposite side of the spectrum is the people who have lost hope, and those are the people I feel sorry for. The people that, because if you don't have hope, you're not going to do the work. And I'm telling you, it's going to take work. I'm telling you the first 5 years are going to suck, right? I'm telling you all the gory details. And if you don't have hope, you're not going to step up. So I have, I don't know, purposefully, I guess, brought myself to the middle, right? The people that have hope and know it's going to take work. And the good news is every decade or so, it becomes obvious that my strategy is the only one that works. And today happens to be, we're living in an environment where it shows. Why do I say that? Well, if you go back to 2021, and again, I talk all the time. In 2021, I was being made fun of by short-term rental, STRs, right? Because again, why do you do long-term rentals? You're such a boomer. I'm getting $4,000 a month more than you, and yada, yada, yada. Well, a lot of gurus came out, made people get in, and now they're getting burned. Next, I went to a Silicon Valley meetup, and there was a brand new syndicator who was talking about buying apartments in Ohio or, wherever. And they never invested before, but they had a bunch of friends with stock money. And they took that money, put it in an apartment, and lost it all. So again, at the end of the day, when you stay consistent, you stay true to what's worked, more and more people will come back and find it. And the beauty is my strategy works every time. It's never going to be the sexiest strategy, but it works. And again, I don't promise easy. I promise, over time it'll work. So I don't know. It's you just got to know who you're serving. And I'm serving the people with hope and that are willing to work.
Yeah. And even within your strategy, there's still different like sub strategies, right? Because you can go buy a rental, and you can go get a mortgage, or you could raise money. And there's all these different ways of getting the cash to do these deals. And you made some early mistakes. I read that you were over leveraging and doing cash out refis.
Yeah.
And so now you're anti raising money, through equity. You still like debt.
Mm-hmm. I do like that.
But you'd prefer to be safer with that debt than going in, willy-nilly.
Yeah, no, there's the only picture in my first book, One Rental at a Time, is a picture of an alligator eating a bag full of money. And that's what happened to me. Is I took a property I bought, Norris Drive, the first one, and I levered up. And again, I say this as somebody who had an MBA and was an accountant. This is how stupid I was. The bank asked me, how much money do I want? I'm like, how much money can I get? And they gave me the max. I didn't even think about looking. Never thought the bank would do this, but they ended up giving me a new mortgage payment that was more than rent. I don't remember the exact numbers, but rent I remember was $1,195. So the mortgage payment was probably like $1,300. And that was before property management, before expenses, before insurance, all these other details. So I was losing $500 a month, which my crazy mind said, oh my God, every Monday I have to work to pay for this thing. I have to work Monday for my tenants to live in my house. So yeah, I call them alligators. Never do negative cash flow. Don't bet on appreciation. Make sure it cash flows day one, all those things. But, the side of that is a lot of people come to me and go, I want to have partners, right? I want to, syndicate or, 3 partners get together and do all of that. And I'm not against that. It's just not something I've done, right? My only partner is Olivia, my wife. And, slow and steady. Could we have gone faster if we borrowed money? Probably. Truth be told, we did borrow millions of dollars, but it was always debt. That way, if, something happened, I just, they took the property. I never want a situation where some other human being other than Olivia could make me do something. And that's why I don't have partners like that. Because again, I've seen partnerships blow up. I've seen partnerships get divorced. I've seen partners get, go bankrupt. I've seen all these crazy things. And I'm like, dude, my life is crazy enough. I don't need these extra headaches. So yeah, that's why I don't do that.
Yeah. So you built your portfolio in one of the bluest states in the country.
Yes.
And maybe rules were different back then, but it's becoming exceedingly harder to be a landlord in California because of all the red tape and the bureaucracy and the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't you started building a portfolio elsewhere? Because the government's your partner there.
No, well, sort of, kind of. So first and foremost, LA County. If LA County became California, I would sell everything. LA County is crazy. It's nuts. I invest in Fresno, which is actually a red city in a blue state. If that makes sense, right? Fresno, Central Valley is very much red. And the thing I like about California, it's kind of counterintuitive, is it's very hard to build there. So if you own some stuff and it's hard to build there, your stuff goes up. That's one of the reasons why California appreciates more than other places, is it's just so freaking hard to build there. So the existing inventory is just worth more. Now, on the other side, you got to put up with 2 months evictions or 2.5 months evictions. And, you've got to do these other things. But at the end of the day, I built a portfolio that cash flowed day one, and I've seen 20 years of appreciation because it's hard to build there. So, we built a portfolio on cash flow, but, appreciation in California over a couple of decades was pretty good.
Oh yeah. And that makes perfect sense. It's all supply and demand. So there's just not enough supply there. So rents are skyrocketing. There's a housing shortage.
Correct. Yeah. And they're not fixing it. They're making it harder. In fact, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. That stuff that's going down in the Palisades right now, where they're making it cost them millions of dollars just to get these pillars and these piers in the ground so that they're, earthquake friendly. And like it's cutting so many people out to be able to build there. And again, it's all intentional, and maybe they've got people's best interest in mind, but I don't know that that's true.
No, unfortunately, in that terrible situation, it certainly seems like a couple of powerful people in play have a vision for the future, and it doesn't involve the people that they were there first. It's sad.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast, really.
Yeah, it is.
So you started with single family, and then at some point you shifted to multifamily.
I did.
Right. And you used 1031 exchanges, and you were able to, build some leverage there and scale. But scale is one of those things that you've tiptoed around, right? You don't want to scale too quickly, too fast, but there is a scale strategy that you've built into the way you do this, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that all investors need to figure out is, are you in growth mode or chill mode? So we were in growth mode for 12 to 14 years, which meant that we were always actively looking to add units. And you need to do that strategically. You need to do it safely. But yeah, one of the biggest linchpins for us was the housing crash. And it wasn't actually the crash. It was the fact that I called the crash. So in 2006, I went to a Bruce Norris event. Shout out Bruce. And he told me California was going to crash. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think real estate could crash. But thankfully, I paid to go to that event and got educated. And I did my own research after on Fresno. And I said, you know what? He's right. So what did we do? We sold all our houses. We sold all 8 houses that we owned at that point, and we 1031 into 80 units. And, that means that we were given all this, what turned out to be fake equity, right? You can go look up Norris Drive, right? Your fans can go look it up on Zillow, 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. We buy it for 107. All of this is in Zillow. So we buy it for 107. We sell it for 263. It foreclosed at 75. 75. That's a 70% haircut.
Wow.
And we got out. So we had all that equity. We moved into apartments. Apartments were horrible the first year because everybody was buying homes in 2007. But you know what? Everybody started losing homes. Apartments went up. And, you know, we were sitting in a good spot. So, yeah, you've got to move strategically. You know, we've done cash out refis and in 1031s. But, yeah, it's if you're in growth mode, be in growth mode. Enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. So you went to growth mode. You scaled up. You went into multifamily. And then when you're 45, things are looking pretty good, and you decide, okay, I'm retiring. I'm moving on.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to that. That story. So I was a sales guy. I was a sales leader. I ran a team. We just had a killer year, just another great year. And I was going to work excited because I was going to get a new patch, a new team, and a new target. But I get to work that day, and for some reason, my boss wants to see me in some back office that I didn't even know existed. I'm like, oh, this is not good. What happened? And sure enough, that conversation goes horribly wrong, and I ask for a package, and I leave work. I text Olivia on the way to my computer or way to my desk. I pick up 2 or 3 family photos, and I leave, never to go back. Because again, as I told you earlier, I wanted to work till I was 50. I loved my job. It was so much fun. I was the man. But, you know, that conversation was horrible for both of us. A lot of nasty things were said. And I left instead of dealing with it. And, you know, I suddenly was unemployed, which frankly was not a good move. I was happy for a couple of days, but then I got depressed. Which is really weird, right? You're financially free. You've got all this stuff, but I was a type A personality that didn't have a mission. I didn't have a passion. I literally went to work excited, like, oh, what's the next challenge going to be? And then all hell broke loose by 8:30. And yeah, so I was not prepared for it. I was not prepared to not be employed.
So during that time period when you're unemployed, but you have revenue, right? You've got your rental income's coming in. So you guys are doing, money's not the issue, but you had lost your identity, right? You were this top salesperson running a whole team and you're excited about it. And now you don't have that. How did you handle that time period in your life?
Not well. It was the only time in my life where I got depressed, you know, and having crazy thoughts because I didn't have a mission. I was so type A. I'd been working so hard for so long. I had done things that nobody else had done, you know, took 3 products from 0 to 100 million. Right. And I was the man at that. And, now I seemingly have nothing. And again, I've been so wired the same way. I'm up at, you know, before 6 every day and I'm struggling. So I remember probably a month after, I was sitting at my kitchen table in the morning going, oh my God, I have to get a job. Right. I'm dying. I'm slowly dying. And I remember this, as soon as I said that, I said, you're such a loser. You know, you've worked all these years. You have all this stuff. Why are you going to get a job, loser? And that's the moment where I said, I'm going to take a month, which turned into 3 months, and I'm going to write a book, which I never thought I would do because I'm not a great writer. If you ever get an email from me, it's horribly misspelled and all kinds of stuff. But I decided to write a book, not for the world. Like One Rental at a Time is a best-selling book now, but I didn't write it for the world. I wrote it for me. Mm-hmm. Because the thing that I was sitting there at 45 realizing is I had been so focused on the next deal, the next thing, that I never looked backwards. I had no idea how high we had climbed this financial freedom ladder because I never bothered to look backwards, right? I only looked ahead. So that was a very important moment for me. It took about 3 months to write One Rental at a Time. And during that, it became very clear that that message could help other people. And from there, you know, One Rental at a Time was born.
Which to start was just a book. Did you ever think it was going to grow into, you teaching this to people and your daily calls and the community. You were telling me that your school is just going crazy right now.
So in 2018, so this is, 7-8 years ago, I figured it would be a book and a YouTube channel. But I never even understood this is how funny it is. I didn't know you could get paid on YouTube. I didn't know that was a thing. I just thought I would get on because all I was looking for, back to the earlier point, was something to drive me, a mission. And I worked out a way that my mission could be creating content, a couple hours a day, 5 days a week. And that was enough for me to solve that itch of contribution. So I only ever thought it would be a book and a YouTube channel. But once you get out in the universe, the world tells you what it needs. So the first thing it told me is, how did you do it? So after constantly being asked, I created a $99 course, how to get started one rental at a time, that ultimately is now $399. So nothing crazy, but it's got a lot of stuff. And I've done $600,000 in that course alone. Then it became, how did you and Olivia do the, get your money right? We went from spending everything to spending 50. So there's that. From there, people wanted to do an in-person event. So we did an in-person event in Vegas. We're about to do our third one. And, initially I had a private Facebook group and that worked. It was free. Private Facebook group was free. But what I quickly realized as Facebook evolved is I could not communicate with everyone. So I had 2,000, 2,500 people in here, but I had an important message that I wanted everybody to get, and I couldn't do it. Only like 10% of the people would see it. I was like, this is wrong. And that happened to be at the time when Alex Hormozi bought school or invested in school, whatever he did. And I'm like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And, we have a school community, /ORAT stands for one rental at a time. And it's going gangbusters. It's got 502 members as of this morning, 9 accountability groups, thousands of dollars in free education, an active forum community. And what I'm finding is it's the best place on the internet. We have 502 people all going the same direction. And that's the key. And again, I'm not here for the money. My courses or the school community is $20 a month. It's 67 pennies a day. For 67 pennies a day, you get around 500 other wealth builders. You got 9 accountability groups, thousands of dollars in free education. And it is so fun for me to stand back and watch. Just people work together, make friendships, do groups together. It's a lot of fun. It far exceeded my expectation.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how a strong community can really support the success, the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. So many of us, we operate in a silo, and you talk about depression. When you're working by yourself, I've gone through this many times, and you work for yourself, by yourself, and you have a bad day, and you try to go to somebody to explain it, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, they're nodding their head and, they're being empathetic, but they don't understand what you're going through. But your group, everyone's moving in the same direction, and maybe there are different phases. Maybe some people are just starting out. Somebody else has been there, done that. They can give them some advice, right? So this is just like a great way to build like accountability. You called it accountability groups, but the support and just the ability to be able to talk to somebody about what they're going through so they can keep pressing on and keep pushing.
Yeah, the beauty of the community, again, is everybody's a go-giver. They kind of lean in. And, one of the things I do is weed out bad people. So I kick people out all the time for bad behavior. But again, everybody's going the same direction. Yes, they're at different places and they're going at different rates, but they're all going the same direction. And they all want to help people. And it is so fun for me to watch. Have
people organically just kind of stepped up and they become like group leaders almost, right? And they're...
Yeah, the 9 accountability groups, I attend 0 of them.
Oh, wow.
There's just nine people, actually 18. Every accountability group has a prime and a backup. That's something that I required because life happens, right? But yeah, there are 9 accountability groups, which I never attend, that are run by others. There's Ladies of ORAT. There's Out-of-State Investing. There's, real estate agents and brokers. There's multifamily. There's just again, folks, go nuts. Go find your tribe, find your people. It's in the community, and Yeah, it's and we have one that meets every day, right? We had a guy named Cody Davis who did a Gen Z plus, right? So the younger generation, he picked up the last day was Saturday. So now 7 days a week, you got an accountability group. If join the one that you want, fits your schedule, fits your topic, go nuts.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool. People just are stepping up and they're coming up with the ideas, right? So they approach you and say, "Hey, Michael, I got this idea.
Yeah.
I want a group that's just women, right? So we feel more comfortable
Ladies of all
talking."
rap. Yeah.
And so someone came to you and did that, and you're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I ask is you have a prime and a secondary. That's all I ask, and then go nuts.
Has there been any group ideas that you said no to?
No, and I don't know that I would. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head that I would say no to. Because again, the audience, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't join.
Right.
And that's okay, right? I think there's so many ways to make money in real estate, and I seriously can't think of one I would say no to. But yeah, it's and the other thing is, as the community knows, I don't know everything, right? There's a short-term rental community. I don't know anything about that. Never done it, but there's people in there that do. I don't do out-of-state investing, but there's people that do, and it's not all about me. So it's fun to see the group grow and mature and take down new avenues to make money.
So you learned a bunch of new things since you wrote your first book. Any plans on another book?
Yeah, there's another book in me for sure. I think it's going to probably be under the brand of Everyday Wealth Builders. I don't know if it's going to be my 2026 challenge. It might be my 2027 challenge. I try to take on one big thing every year. And a third book, given how hard they are for me, would probably be that one big challenge. But yeah, there'll be another book coming eventually. Yes.
And what do you think? What are some of the topics that floating around in your head that could be in the book?
Well, I think the wealth formula has to be in there. Again, discretionary income, become elite, do it for a decade. I think it also has to have an opening chapter or maybe an appendix that just documents the problem. Right. I did a presentation at Bigger Pockets that really the opening slide was, let's look at 65-year-olds today. Right. The average 65-year-old is not in a good financial position. So back to our earlier conversation about work, right? Go to school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, retire. It's not working for most people. Right. We need to acknowledge it's not working and then have a plan B. And that's really what getting to 4 properties has always been for me. It was a plan B. It wasn't about replacing your income. It was about having a plan B. So yeah, those concepts, obviously I would invite, I talk to multimillionaires almost every day. So I would have more personal stories, because that's the big thing for me, is just showing that it's possible, right? For me, it's hope. That's why I think the book, Everyday Wealth Builder, is just going to be about establishing hope and belief. Because again, it's like we talked earlier, it's hard. It takes time. The first 5 years suck. But if you really can anchor on hope and belief, you can get through it. Because you're gonna be alive in 5 years. You're gonna be alive in 10 years. Invest like that.
Yeah, I like that idea of having stories in there from different people. I went back and read Think and Grow Rich again, and I just love his approach. How he tells this. There's an overarching theme, and then he takes all these anecdotes of people's experiences and tells their story. And it really can drive it home, because you might not identify with Michael Zuber when you're reading the book, but you might identify with somebody completely different who has a different life path, different background, different story. And that's the thing that resonates with you, to get you to start taking action.
Correct. That's the thing I've learned is, and that's why on my YouTube channel, we have this millionaire series where I talk to 2 or 3 different millionaires every day. Because again, it's not about me. I'm only one story. There's hundreds of different ways to do this thing. So I'm bringing on different people to share their stories. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And so your YouTube channel, you said you already have some of these stories, like these conversations. Is it so like a podcast style interview, and you guys are talking about them and their business?
Yeah, there are some millionaires I've been talking to for 5 years. Anna Kelly, she goes by the moniker REI Mom. She was a Section 8. She grew up Section 8. She sold the big house, bought a fourplex to house hack. That's her story. I have a 9th grade dropout. I have a single father with $200,000 in debt, right? These are all millionaires that I've been talking to years, that you can go back and watch hundreds of videos. And, Yeah, it's a real anchor of my channel.
So over the years, you've been able to overcome some different ups and downs of the markets, and you so smartly predicted the 2008 crash and sold all your assets. Is there anything that you see coming down the pipe now? Like we already talked about the education system and how universities are going to be a dying strategy, but anything else you think we should keep our eyes on from your perspective?
So I think I think there's a couple of big waves coming. First, we kind of talked to earlier, I think college is going to collapse, but I think trade schools are going to explode. And I think what we're seeing already in Gen Z and likely Gen Alpha is a lot more screw college. I'm going to go get a trade and start working now instead of getting 100K in debt and work in 5 years. I think that's the right answer for a lot of people. I think homeschooling is a trend that has legs. Again, I think there's a lot of things in the school system that are not good for a lot of people. So I think homeschooling is the right answer for lots of folks. I do think there's an opportunity coming. I think something I called a year or two ago is the greatest wealth transfer is coming. And it's a real estate crash. It's just not single family. It's multifamily. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of deals that were done in 21 and 22. In fact, there's an article I read this weekend talking about $1 trillion in commercial financing that's coming due in the next 12 months. And a lot of that stuff's not going to get refinanced, which means it's going to be sold and sold at a loss. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to potentially picking up some more apartment buildings as prices crater. Because again, they were done with stupid deals at stupid interest rates. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity coming in multifamily, Class B, Class C, value add that I'm looking forward to picking over in 2026 and 2027.
And what are the indicators about that? Why do you see that happening? Is there something with the economy?
Financing.
Or it's financing and rates?
It's financing. Commercial financing, typically you did 3, 5, 7 year terms. A lot of stuff the record year for origination was 2021. A lot of that debt was 3-year IO, which stands for interest only. A lot of folks, extend and pretend another year, right? Pretend and pray. And just a lot of that stuff's coming due in 2026. They're not going to be able to refi it. Financing is going to force them to sell it, and it's going to force them to sell it at a loss. And, I'll be there to pick up the pieces if I can.
So somebody who's interested in participating in that opportunity, how do they prepare for that?
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to get focused on your buy box, your area, your city. You need to go meet all the top brokers. You need to build relationships. The first signs of this are going to be people listing properties. They're going to list them at stupid prices or wish pricing. You're going to have to track them for a while, but eventually the banks will take over and they'll be sold. So this is a long process. This is kind of like fishing for sharks or whatever, big fish. You're going to have to keep the rod in the water for a while, but it's just math. It's just math. This tidal wave is coming.
So part of the thing that people can learn with you is how to analyze these big deals. Is that one of the things that you teach is underwriting large multifamily properties?
Yeah, me and others. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Awesome. So you mentioned your in-person events. You've got another one coming up. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I honestly never thought I would do in-person events. I'm not very much, I was very much online's my comfort zone's my jam. But I bet a friend of mine, if we ever got to 50,000 YouTube subscribers, which I never thought we would, that we would do an event. And sure enough, we hit that a couple years ago. So President's Day weekend, this one coming up. So it's February 14th and 15th. We'll have our third annual event. We actually have 2 headliners this year. We got Pace Morby on Sunday and Jason Hartman on Saturday. Those are just the 2 headliners. We got a full agenda of other amazing investors. Most of them have been on my channel multiple times. And we're just going to have a family reunion. That's really what my event is. It's a family reunion. Most of the people watch multiple videos of mine, and they're going to come together and we're going to have a party. And, I feed you lunch, dinner, lunch. I give you some cake for a celebration. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Is it a 2-day or 1 day?
2 day, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. And it's on President's Day weekend. So you employees, you get to travel home on Monday, which is a holiday.
Perfect. And if people want to get registered for that, is there some place they can go already, or is that coming?
Yep. No, they can go to Eventbrite. Tickets are on sale. We've only got 100 tickets left. A little bit less than 100
Oh,
tickets
wow.
left. We sold. My community is pretty active. So yeah, you can get general admission VIP, and we'll see you in February.
Very cool. Well, we'll make sure to put a link for that in the show notes so that anybody who's interested can go attend this amazing event that's going to happen in February on President's Day weekend. I can only imagine what kind of nuggets you're going to share with them there, but it sounds like it's going to be inspiring, and it's going to be, accountability and getting people riled up.
Yep.
I mean, that's the difference.
No selling from stage. Selling from stage. Nobody sells anything there. Nobody's paying to be there. I only invite people that give value. The other thing I do different is there's a microphone on the side of the room. Like every presentation will be 45 minutes, but it'll only be 30 minutes of content and then 15 minutes of Q&A.
I like that.
So you guys know who are coming. Go get your questions ready, line up and ask questions. We are all there for the audience.
Love it. Well, awesome, Michael. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us today and sharing your background and your experience. And I'm really excited for the school thing. Actually, we'll put the link for school hopefully too, so people can go check that out.
Thanks.
And then also go to your live event. But thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Vincent. Anytime.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship and we talk about business and real estate investing and so many cool topics. But we'll have more amazing guests like Michael in the future, and just keep an eye out for those updates in the newsletter, as well as we post them on all the social channels. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.